Hey everybody, Jay Young here, King Operating, and it's an exciting time. We're going to talk about oil field today. This is the oil field 101 class. This is something that if you want to know more about oil and gas, we want you to write some questions down. We want you to be here. We want you to learn about oil and gas. It's not as complicated as people think on the surface. When you get to know as much as you do about an engineer and Kelly Duncan, or when you go into the weeds with Bill or something, we'll talk about that in just a minute. But we want you to understand about oil and gas and what goes into the sausage making, and what do we do here at King that's different than what everybody else is doing out there. And we're excited to bring you that. Yes, I said that. We have Kelly Duncan, engineer extraordinaire, been with me for a long time, incredible guy. We love him to death. Bill Phillips, landman. He's not the original landman. That is Billy Bob Thornton, but no, I'm just kidding. We are pleased to have Bill on our staff, and there's also Rachel Griffith, and she is with our company, and she's going to be the one moderating. So matter of fact, I'm not even sure why I'm talking right now, because I'm supposed to hand this over to Rachel to talk more about what it is we want to talk about. So Rachel, go ahead. Take off.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jay. And yes, welcome everybody. We're excited to have you here today. And I know you guys are going to learn some really incredible and insightful things today from some very smart people. I'm excited to learn a little bit more. I feel like whenever I hang around these guys, I'm always gaining new information and new insights into this amazing world of oil and gas. So thank you so much, Jay. I'm a senior vice president here. My name is Rachel Griffith, and we're going to start rolling. I got a lot of questions for you guys today. I'm going to try and spread them out and roll them around, and we're just going to give our audience some great education. Hopefully you guys put your comments down below, connect with us. We want to hear from you. Make sure to send an email or just reach out, because we would love to let you know more about King Operating. I'll talk a bit about it at the end, but get ready to learn. So Jay, I'm gonna shoot you the first question, okay? And we wanna just talk a little bit about, is the US really becoming the top energy exporter right now? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, it's a good question. And you know, if Trump has anything to do with it, it made a big deal over in the EU back about a month ago, you know, where we are exporting more. We're going to export more. What that means is we're producing so much natural gas in the United States right now that we're full. We have plenty, but we have a demand around the world for natural gas, and so we're putting it on ships. It's called LNG, and we're exporting it. I mean, still have foreign countries, Germany paying $8, $9, $10. We're producing it here for $2.5, $3. There's a big difference in that, so we can make money by selling and by exporting natural gas, which is something that Biden didn't want to do. He shut down all our exporting transportation parts to different countries on the LNG part. But hey, Trump's all about it. Made a $750 billion deal with the European Union on they have to spend this money here, and they're going to be buying our natural gas. So yes, we will become a major exporter of natural gas.
That's amazing. Jay, just for anybody out there who's hearing this term LNG for the first time, and they're like, what is LNG? Would you just break that down in simple terms for people to understand if that's their first time hearing that?
Yeah. Well, it's actually natural gas, but it's liquefied natural gas. And to get into that composition, I'm not an engineer like Kelly. I don't know if Kelly could explain that a little bit more than I could, but yeah. It is natural gas that's liquefied, put on a tanker, and then sold overseas. Kelly, you got anything else to add to that?
Not my specialty per se, but yes, it's all about the ships or the technology. There are two parts to technology. Obviously, before that technology is a standard pipeline infrastructure. That's a key part of it. And the two big parts are the liquefying process, which is basically for layman's terms, an overcomplicated refinery where they instead of refining it to a different product, they pressurize it and adjust the temperature to liquefy the natural gas. So it's kind of like propane. A lot of y'all have barbecue pits at your house. If you crack the thing on your propane, you notice it looks kind of misty. The propane in your tank is semi-liquefied, and that's what we're trying to do, to take that gas molecule, and like you learned in an elementary school chemistry class and turning it to a liquid, not a liquid form. It's a lot easier to transport the way volumetrically. You get a lot more. And then these tankers, which I am not an expert on all, they're basically giant pressure vessels and on a ship, and they pressurize it, get it into liquid form, get it on these ships, take it overseas, wherever we're headed, exporting it, and then the process is inverted, and where on the receiving side, it's turned from liquid natural gas back into the gas that you use to run your heater, dryer, or a washing machine, or power your power plants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. Just that the U.S. is becoming and potentially looks like it will be the top exporter in LNG. And I think that's a good segue, Kelly, into talking a little bit about the Permian Basin and, what are some of the activities there? Maybe unpack a little bit about natural gas in the Permian Basin or just the history. I'm very fascinated with the Permian Basin. I have a crush on this whole basin. I'm just going to be honest. It's so amazing to me. So Kelly, give us some good stuff about it.
Rachel, you must not spend much time out there because it is a dust bowl, but it is definitely the hub of U.S. oil and gas these days. And I was doing a little research for this, and the Permian Basin, we're blessed, is kind of the gift that keeps giving, especially as a near Texan like myself. It's the driving force in our oil and gas volumetrics. It's activity-wise, it's been going on for a little over 100 years. A lot of people will tell you the Santa Rosa 1 well drilled in 1923, so just a hair over 100 years ago, kind of changed oil and gas industry together, and especially put the Permian Basin on the map. The Permian, as keep on giving, they over the years, the type, the technology, the formation types, the needs of oil versus gas, heavy oil, lighter oils. Every time that a new technology comes out, we're able to apply it out there. Every time a new product type is really what needs, they're able to find it. So thank the geological history that really has given us Permian Basin, the gift that keeps on giving. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's, the Permian alone could act as any on a list of producing places in the world. Texas itself, and especially the Permian Basin, would be pretty darn high ranked just as a producing entity as itself. And I don't see that changing anywhere in the future.
Yeah, country. I mean, literally right behind. It's pretty close to Saudi Arabia. I mean, the United States produces more oil than any other country in the world, and then you have Saudi Arabia right behind that. And I believe that Texas is really close to Saudi Arabia. And then you go down to Russia and Canada and so forth. But yeah, you're right. It is, and the Permian Basin's gone from 1 million barrels of oil, in a relatively short time to 6 million barrels of oil equivalent right now with oil and natural gas. That is incredible, and it's all because of horizontal drilling and horizontal drilling and fracking, pretty much. Is that right, Kelly?
Yes, sir. The technology has come a long way, and we've really perfected it out there in West Texas and the Permian Basin, and it just keeps on. The margins, the scalability, and all that just grow every day. A lot of that due to extra increase in technology and horizontal drilling.
Yeah.
So am I correct in saying this, gentlemen, that I think some years back they were saying the Permian is going to dry up, right? We're going to see the end of the Permian Basin. And then as Jay is saying, horizontal fracking came around. And maybe, Kelly, you could explain to people, what is horizontal fracking? How did that change the landscape of looking at the Permian Basin and people saying, it's going to be done, and now it's producing one of the largest producing basins in the world?
Yes, ma'am. The difference between the U.S. and say Saudi Arabia is their oil sands are super permeable. The sand looks like a beach sand. The oil just flows naturally. So they're not per se using horizontal fracking technologies like we do here in the Permian and Texas and the U.S. And you're right. There was a period of time in the history of Texas production that the Permian we thought was drying up. And technology from other places came in Midland, and that the two are horizontal drilling and fracture technology. That we combine the two together to complete a well these days, but they're two separate technologies. Horizontal drilling concept's been around since the 60s. Technology didn't really catch up with the concept till the mid 80s. And actually, part of the Texas is really near and dear to my heart, Jay will know, and as well, the Austin Chalk in the early 80s was kind of where It wasn't invented, I'd say, that feasible, perfected, and cost effectively. So people started chasing these chalk wells and took scalability, and six-fold, 20-fold the production by horizontal technology. So we kind of got to the 80s and 90s with horizontal drilling and able to reach out and touch a lot more formation than just a vertical well with a few fracks in it. And then, King is a Dallas-based company, and kind of your DFW oil field explosion in the late 90s and early 2000s. And the Barnett is really where the two technologies kind of came together. And I've been blessed in my career to train under some of the forefront guys in the Barnett horizontal fracture technology, and that's where a lot of my techniques came from. So we take the horizontal drilling to contact more rock, but instead of just doing easy flow rock, we were chasing rock or even formations, and this is where the Permian really took off again. You hear us talk about shale plays and whatnot. Most shale plays don't flow oil naturally. It's like a congested highway or back road, and then when we frack it, it turns it into basically like laying a toll road down there. The oil has a place to get out. So combining the technology of horizontal drilling and the modern frac technologies together have really opened rocks that we drilled through for years. Jay and I were in a meeting this morning talking about bypassing zones for years, including the Barnett. People ignore the Barnett for 30, 40 years, drilled through it to get to the next formation below it, and then some of these inventors and creators decided to test some things, and that's really opened up whole new formations. The formations we chase in the Permian today are not the same ones that were drilled in the 70s and 80s. So that's why it's kind of had a rebirth and will continue to go.
Wow.
Yeah. I got a good story about that, if you don't mind, real quick. This really tells a lot, because while you're drilling a well, you know what you call a mud log, and a mud log is something that when you're drilling a well and you're going down, you can see on a chromatograph, how fast the drill bit is spinning, and if it speeds up or it slows down or whatever the case. It was speeding up a little bit based on the other formations out there, because you're drilling through conglomerate formations and hard rock, and all of a sudden the drill bit was speed up, and it was gassy, and it was like 200 to 300 feet thick. And this is in 1995, 96, 97. We drilled a lot of wells in Parker County, which is just outside Fort Worth. And one night I'll never forget, I was there with Steve Williamson, Eric Castillo. We were talking, and I said, "Hey, what is this zone right here? Because it looks like it's got gas in it. I mean, man, because your chromatograph was going off the chart, not off charts, but it was like 500 or 600 units, and we're drilling, and it's just like drilling really good, and it's gassy and it's thick." And I'll never forget, Steve Williamson said, "Well, hey Jay, that's the Barnett Shale. It's too tight. The formation won't do anything because it's just way too tight." And I said, "Well, what do you mean by that?" And he said, "Well," he said, "you could perforate it. So let's just say that we drilled that well. We were drilling through it to go to the Ellenberger. Let's say we came up hole and we put pipe down there and we perforated it, and then you wouldn't get any gas out of it because the rock is too tight. It's like a big piece of concrete on the outside. It's not going to move. Nothing's going to move through it." So what George Mitchell did was he did something called fracking, which is move. He would perforate only a small section, and he would move water at high rates of speed to break open the rock, like a baseball bat on a windshield. Or somebody that goes out there with one of those sledgehammers and breaks open the rock. That's what you have to do to get the oil to move, because you need permeability, you need porosity. I know Bill Phillips is like, "Okay, Jay, let's get to me real quick. We're sitting here too long." But I wanted you to know, when we drilled through it, and it was just, I'll never forget this. I mean, it was late one night, we're drilling, I go, "Hey man, what's this? What is this formation?" And I'll never forget, I talked to Trevor Reese Jones, him and his CFO, and they were like, "Yeah, we're perforating it. We're producing the Barnett Shale vertically, and we're making some wells because we're fracking it real hard." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" And yeah, we're getting ready to go horizontal. I'll never forget that. I mean, it's in the 90s. But anyway, that's why it went, when you go horizontal, you're drilling like multiple vertical wells. And then when you're fracturing and you're blowing rock, with high rates of speed, with water at high rates of speed and opening it up. That's kind of why the technology works today, and compared to what it was before. But I didn't want to get off on that, but I wanted to at least tell that story because I think that story is fascinating for somebody that doesn't understand what happened and why did George Mitchell think for a second that if you went horizontal and fracked it, it would be a commercial well, and then all of a sudden we're one of the largest gas producers and oil producers. We are the largest oil producer, and it's all because of oil producer in the world, and it's all because of horizontal drilling and fracking. So,
yep, it's very fascinating. I think it's one of the great points of why oil and gas is just not going away. Even when they always say it is, it's not. There's a demand, and it means that people are creative in this field. So many brilliant engineers and just people who are committed to U.S. energy. And I want to now bring Bill Phillips in. Bill, we don't want to leave you out of this conversation because when people think about oil and gas, they think about that landman who's out there looking for the properties, buying, the mineral rights and all these things. And there's a little bit of Hollywood, a little bit of mysticism, we know, wrapped into your job. We definitely want you to share some crazy stories, Bill. I'm just messing with you, but we want to know, Bill, like when you go out there, break down for people, how do you buy mineral rights? Like, what do you do? I mean, are you just out there driving around, knocking on someone's door?
Well, leasing mineral rights has been a profession that's been going on for well over 100 years. It's not anything new. The technology has changed. A lot of it depends upon what state you're in, where you are. But a landman that will go out and buy an oil and gas lease doesn't just randomly go out and start buying or leasing minerals. You have a geologist that will come up with a prospect, and he'll draw an outline on a map that had a land map that has all the surveys or the township and ranges depicted on it. He'll draw a box or a circle around it, and you'll go out and try to lease everything inside that box or circle. And you'll try to first you'll have to research to determine who owns the minerals. One thing a lot of people don't realize is that the United States is one of the only countries in the world where you and I can actually own minerals. If you go to any other country, even Canada, there's a very, very small portion of Canada where you can own the minerals. Otherwise, the state owns the minerals. And so we're very fortunate here in the U.S. where we can own minerals. And even in the U.S., the federal government actually owns a lot of minerals in the mountain states, in Colorado, Wyoming, New Mexico. Individual states also own minerals. Certain states like New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, North Dakota, they own minerals as well. And when you go to lease, say you had federal lands in a prospect, you just don't go to the county office and lease minerals from the federal government. There are regularly scheduled lease sales that you have to put a bond up and go to the routine sales that they have every year. All of the Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of America now, the East Coast, West Coast, that's all federal. And those mineral rights owned by the federal government are held at regularly scheduled lease sales. But back to just mom and pop leasing, a landman would go to the county courthouse. He would look at run the records in the courthouse to determine who actually owned them. Just because you own the surface of the land, a farm, or a ranch doesn't necessarily mean you own the mineral rights. You generally do, but not always. And when you have a surface owner that owns all of the minerals, that's called fee simple title. That's a great thing, but over the years, title has been bought and sold and divvied up in wills. If you have 5 kids and you die and you leave it to your kids, now all of a sudden the minerals are not owned by one person, they're owned by 5. And if they each had 5 kids, 30 years later, it's owned by 25 people. We've actually got here at King a property over in East Texas where we've got over 500 mineral owners. So to get them all leased up, it can be a real challenge. And each state can be different. If you own the surface in Louisiana, that's under the Napoleonic Code, you own the mineral rights. They can be severed, but after 10 years, the mineral rights revert back to the surface owner. So it takes a lot of skill and effort to determine who owns them. And like I say, the geologist first comes up with a geologic prospect. The landman goes out and leases them. Then the engineer drills the wells and produces them. That's a real oversimplification, but because very few wells are drilled 100% by one company, the senior management will want partners potentially in almost every well drill, and the landman plays a role in negotiating documents, getting title examined, all of that. That's it can be pretty complex for those who are not familiar with it. I don't know if that confuses things or not, but that's kind of the way it is.
That's a great synopsis, Bill. I feel like we could put that into multiple different webinars and lives. There's a lot to unpack there. So how long, Bill, have you, quickly, because I know we're actually getting close to time, but how long have you been doing, being a landman, being out there, for how long?
Over 45 years.
Wow.
There are a number of schools. I actually got a degree in petroleum land management. And at the time I got mine in the mid 70s, there were only 3 universities in the country that had that degree. It was Texas, OU, and Colorado School of Mines. And now there's probably 15 or 20 that will have a degree like that. And the degree has morphed into energy finance as well. So a lot of people get an undergraduate degree in land management, and then get an energy finance major as a master's. So it's evolved over the years quite a bit.
Wow. 45 years. That's really amazing, Bill. And Jay, I think our operations team is 200 plus years of experience on the operations side. It's a crazy amount of depth and, education and experience on our operations side. So Jay, just coming back to taking all this full circle, everything we've unpacked with, the Permian Basin, LNG, natural gas, and just the demand right now, what are you seeing? What is your opinion for kind of the energy transition, and what are we looking at for oil and gas investing right now?
Well, that's a great question, Rachel. And I think the big thing right now is, we do have a really great experienced team that have come on board in the last 2 years. We went through a lot of stuff 3 years ago, and I was like, man, we got to change some things up. So we've changed some things up for our partners. And Bill mentions there's 400, 500 landowners or mineral owners on one lease in East Texas, but we only have one team that we have to deal with, or one family we have to deal with on our 60,000 acre ranch in Amarillo. We have a 320 acre lease, or 1,000 acres in East Texas. We got 400 people. We have 60,000 acres in Amarillo. We have one family, which is kind of strange, but
amazing.
There is different people along with that. So the next is talking about with the Permian Basin, what we're drilling. We have some really great non-op prospects that we have right now that we're looking through. That is great news. We also have some in the mid-continent. So that's right. That's what Bill says is, he has a geologist, he has an engineer that looks to make sure the numbers are right, and then Bill goes out and leases all the land or finds deals, and then we go and lease up the acreage and then drill it. And we're very excited about what's going to happen here at King in the next year, 2 years, and so forth, and moving forward. So it's really great. But to have great people is very, very key, because then you listen to them and find out what they're saying, what they're not saying, what's going on, and there's a lot of experience. It's like Mark said this morning. Mark is one of the guys that came over from Hunt with Bill, And Mark's like, you know what, Jay, we're old and we have a lot of experience, and if we say it, you better listen. You know, it's kind of what he said, isn't it right, Bill?
That's what he said. And
Yeah.
remember, he's old, so
yeah. But hey, you know, it is what it is, and he has a lot of knowledge, and which is awesome. And he's probably over the 50-year. He's over the 50-year mark that we were talking about a minute ago. But anyway, but I'm just really excited about what's going on. Is there any more questions that you have, Rachel?
I mean, I think this is actually a good time. I want to just talk a little bit. I am excited. I'm excited about where we're at in the fund. I think this brought up some great points. And look, I just want to say to anybody out there, if you've never been involved in oil and gas, or if you have, we want to talk to you because we are doing something very special here. Jay wrote the book, hey, the upside of oil and gas, not the downside, like we say. You can get this book. You can go to the website, actually. Make sure you check out our website, kingoperating.com. You can get the book there. You can get it on Amazon. It is important to read because it really unpacks a different strategy that de-risks, diversifies oil and gas into a different strategy that is very impactful for partners. Not only are you going to get that amazing tax incentive, that tax benefit that comes with intangible drilling costs, you need that tax strategy in your portfolio, number one. Number two, those monthly distributions. Number three, our different strategy, which is an exit strategy. And that's going to give you a return on your investment with a multiple. We've got different leaseholds right now. We've got a very experienced team, like we told you, 200 years of experience here. Jay is 4th generation oil and gas, and we are a team that is committed to you. We would love to connect with you and just talk you through what we're doing here, show you a bit more about our projects. We have some amazing incentives right now going on until we hit our 40 million marker. So I'm just excited, Jay. I'm excited. I want people to get in on this. I want them to know that they need this in their portfolio. It needs to be one of their buckets, basically. You know, you have all your buckets in your investment portfolio strategy, and they need this one in there.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of people don't necessarily like tax write-offs. They don't like passive income. I mean, I know that. I mean, it's like, why? I don't need money. I don't want a return on my investment. You know, I want to lose. No, just kidding. But the greatest thing that we've done is I've spent my entire career, you know, for this moment right here, and that is talking to you about our program and what we've done and what we've put together, and we've been able to mitigate as much risk. We made some mistakes down the road. I know I have, but we've learned from them, and now we're moving forward with what we know today in the best way possible, and that's drilling wells on great places with great people, just like we have here, and really do appreciate that. So, are we wrapping up, or are we going forward? Any more questions, Rachel? Or
see if we have any more questions here in the comment section.
I had a few more on my list. I just didn't know if we were going to wrap it up at 3:30, or if we're going to answer some more questions.
I'm taking a look right now. I think we had a couple more questions coming in. Give me 1 second. Yes. Okay, interesting. All right. So we have Professor Saeed Mazira, and he's asking, what can other countries do to produce their shales? So someone will have to decide who wants to take that question.
I'll jump in there. Again, a lot of the shale technologies came here from the U.S., but it is expanding. I joined Jay and Bill at the Big Nick conference every year, and starting to see some people there that they're starting to take these technologies overseas. So a lot of the big vendors, the service companies that have helped pioneer this technology, along with people like Mitchell, are rolling these out in different countries. I know the Far East, Vietnam and whatnot, and then India, and even some Saudi Arabia, that horizontal techniques and what I'll call American fracking techniques. Not just, commonly fracks used to be heavy, expensive, high gel systems, and of course the shale frack, or what we call, you hear a lot of times on the news, whatever, slick water fracks. And people are really starting to take that technology kind of birth here in North Dallas, here in the Barnett and DFW, and rolling that overseas. So you're starting to see people explore the shale and horizontal world overseas and around the world now. So I think the next 10 years you'll see more of that coming up.
If I could add on to that, Rachel, a lot of people are not aware, in the U.S. government does not have a national oil company. In many countries like Brazil, Argentina, and Peru, Mexico is one, they have their own federal oil and gas companies. In Venezuela, it's called PDVSA. New Mexico is Pemex. Peru Petro, YPF is in Argentina. A number of the Middle Eastern countries.
In Russia, it's called Putin.
Oil and gas company.
Isn't that right? In Russia, it's called Putin. Isn't that right? No.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Bill.
Pretty much.
Right. So one of the things a lot of these other countries do is they rely heavily on, especially the underdeveloped countries, rely heavily on U.S. technology. The bigger countries like Argentina and over in the Middle East that are drilling, well, the Middle East is drilling mainly vertical wells, but Petrobras is in Brazil. Those folks are those companies are highly sophisticated. And if you go to any major university that has a petroleum engineering, petroleum geology school, it's packed with folks from Brazil, Argentina, Peru. A lot of the classes I had probably half the class was foreign nationals. So they rely heavily on U.S. technology, just like they do in a lot of other businesses. But all of the hydraulic fracturing, horizontal drilling techniques, the overwhelming majority of that came from the U.S.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, I'm just gonna, Jay, another question here for you as we're talking kind of internationally about oil and gas. What do you see? I mean, right now we've got India is still buying cheap oil from Russia, even with U.S. tariffs. What does that mean for American and U.S. oil? What do you see globally a little bit? We've got some interesting stuff going on.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, with Putin selling, you know, cheap oil, discounted oil to India because he can, and India can buy it because they want to, right? I don't know how that works, but that's unfortunate. And, you know, Trump, he's going to use that to his advantage. Obviously, that's how he is. You know, so if Putin all of a sudden says, okay, well, I'll quit selling to India, because Putin, I mean, just think about it for a second. They're producing 6 million barrels a day. Now, and that's their money. That's the government's money. So it's not like they have, you know, 400 or 4,000 public companies or whatever the case may be. All of these companies is rolled into one, and that's why when Bill was talking, I said, you know, the national oil company for Russia is Putin, because he's in the checkbook. I mean, he's not necessarily him and his own deal, but you know, the government of Russia runs that country and runs all the oil. So all that oil runs, and if they're selling a discount, okay, well, that's fine. I can sell at a discount. They're producing a lot, but that's all run in the budgets. So when you hear about budgets in these Iran, Iraq, and all that, they have all the oil goes straight to their checkbook, and all the expenses are written out of that. So it's a big difference than what we do here in the United States. And when Russia decides to sell it, India decides to buy it at discounted amounts, and I'll tell you what, and it pisses Trump off, obviously, because they're buying oil from Russia. Russia's making money, and Trump knows it, and he's pissed off, and he's going to take that out on India with some 50% tariffs, if not higher than that, and you'll see something going on. I mean, I would be surprised if there's some big fallout on that really, really soon.
Okay. All right, we're going to be looking out for that. It's going to be interesting to see what is on the global landscape for oil and gas with all the big players involved and what's happening. Jay, guys, anything else that we want to touch on before we wrap her up today?
I think we've done a great job, Rachel. Great job on that, Kelly, Bill. We really do appreciate you guys and spending your time here with us today. You know, all we've talked about is getting you as a partner, as somebody that wants to know more about oil and gas. You know, go to our website, kingoperating.com. We'll answer questions, or I'll send you a copy of my book. You know, I'll send out five 5 autographed copies of my book to the 5 people that write in and say, hey, send me a book, and I'll send them. I've got to go sign some right now, and for a TV show I did, and I did that, and I was overwhelmed, and so I'll do the same thing here. If you want a book, if you want an autographed book, I'll autograph it for you. Just go on our website and say, hey, send me a book, and I will. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here today. We appreciate your interest in King Operating. We've done a great job, and these guys right here have done a great job in putting everything together and putting together and working hard, diligent all the time, and keeping everything together for our oil company. So thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you back here next week.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah.